Thank you for listening to the Flying High Club podcast in association with the World Aviation Festival 2024 in Amsterdam. We've been delighted to be able to bring you this, and it wouldn't have been possible without our sponsors, FLYR. FLYR are experts in aviation and travel space, providing tech outsourcing services focused on increasing revenue and making your operations more efficient. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to bring you what we are bringing you today. And more importantly, what we need you to do is, if you want to find out more about FLYR, please check the caption below for more details. Thank you for subscribing and keep following us. Keep flying high. Welcome everyone to the Flying High Club podcast. We're at World Aviation Festival in Amsterdam 2024, and we are lining the guests up as we go along. And we're delighted today to talk to someone, as a startup, bringing along offer order in the aviation space, and we're going to delve into what that business is all about and what the individual is all about. Because right here, we're not here to just give you industry news. We're here to talk about the men and women behind what's going on in this industry. So today, I'm really delighted to announce that we have with us Alex Mann, founder and CEO of FLYR. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So, it's a hive of activity here, as I keep saying to everyone on this podcast. Lots of energy, lots of things going on. I want to start by asking about World Aviation Festival and conferences like this. Why are these type of things so important?
So the aviation industry is a very, very small, tightly knit space of people, right? People go around from airline to airline, having worked in different places, but they all know each other. And that means that referenceability, having conversations with the people that you saw last time and the year before is really important to build that connectivity and develop an understanding of what we all do, not just the technology vendors, but also the airlines themselves, to get a pulse on what matters to the industry. What are they looking for? Because as a technology vendor, FLYR really tries to inform where we invest based on where airlines really want to go, where they have to go. And there's no better place to do that, and there's no better place to connect with everybody that matters than a conference like WAF.
Yeah. And how important has a conference like WAF been in the journey of FLYR?
It's very important because I would say WAF is probably responsible for half of our prospecting for the year. So most of the relationships that end up resulting in a partnership or a contract end up originating with conferences like these.
Yeah. Amazing, that's really good. Yep. And again, being a technology vendor yourself, what are the innovations and products that, for example, you're seeing as you walk around today that excite you?
Yeah, so you mentioned it earlier in the introduction. Offer and order is kind of the focus of the industry right now. Really, it means how do we get rid of our legacy passenger service system, the legacy reservation system, and move to a more modern infrastructure that allows airlines to offer experiences that are more like every other retailing industry and less like the thing we've seen over the last 20 years.
Yeah, perfect. And how did you get into this space? Because it can be seen as something so legacy, so difficult to change, both from a technological perspective, but also from a mindset perspective in the industry. What on earth possessed you to try and be one of those innovators, try and change that?
What on earth possessed me to get into this industry? I ask myself that question on a regular basis, but what kind of started is I spent my childhood on weekends at the airfield with my parents and my grandparents, developing a love for aviation basically, and becoming an av geek at a very young age. Writing down tail numbers and aircraft types and stuff like that. I then, in my teenage years, actually started my first company in network security, focused on applying deep learning and AI. And then when I moved to Silicon Valley when I was 22 years old, with nothing but my backpack, I wanted to combine that aviation passion with that interest in new technology like artificial intelligence. And that kind of was the starting point of FLYR, and FLYR evolved much since then. But yeah, that's kind of where it came from.
Perfect. Yeah. And like you said, having the bravery to do that, because like you said, I think there's a mindset as well. Here comes this guy from Silicon Valley telling us how we should be selling to our customers and providing for our customers. How have you had to overcome those challenges, and what has that experience been like?
Well, so first of all, I'm Dutch. We're in the Netherlands, but I'm Dutch. I'm trying really hard for my accent to be more and more American. I'm an American citizen now, but I moved to Silicon Valley because Silicon Valley is a place where all the ingredients you need to build a big business or a big opportunity are there. From capital to smart people to network effects, right? That's really kind of why I moved there. Today, however, FLYR has the majority of its staff, or about 750 people strong globally. The majority of our team is actually in Europe. So we have offices in Amsterdam, large office here, Krakow, Poland, Barcelona, London, Frankfurt, and other places as well. So we've grown quite a bit. But I think where some of our strength comes from, we are technologists at heart, and we've combined that with people that have worked at airlines or worked at competitors in the technology space to determine what is actually the right thing to be building and the right thing to invest in, and then work with airlines along the way to help them get to where they want to go. And so we're not here to tell airlines how to do things. We are here to be a partner to them and help them kind of get into the next generation of technology that helps them be more profitable, manage their costs, create a better customer experience. That's what we're about. Today on the stage, I focused on what is the customer experience our technologies enable. Not the technology jargon of like how things work underneath as much. Really like what can you enable? What are the things we can do that help the airline and help the traveler?
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. I think the mistakes I've seen from technology providers, especially being on the customer side previously as well, is I don't really want to know about the tech. That's why you're here. And I think it's a really important point to our viewers actually that, it's about connecting to the end goal, which is the customer experience and what you're providing at the end. The bit in the middle is why you're the expert and why your teams will come in and help deliver that. So it's a really, really powerful point that actually, rather than getting lost in the jargon, actually getting back to the end goal is so important for all technology providers when they are trying to position those products, and it's all about the customer experience.
I agree. And we're in an industry where, called the legacy providers, are so monopolistic or oligopolistic, where innovation has slowed down, costs have been inflating, the treatment of the customer, both the airline and as a result the traveler, has worsened over time, and the time is now to provide an alternative. I will say one more thing when it comes to startups. When you get into the travel space, you need to have an incredible amount of perseverance, right? The sales cycles and the adoption cycles are very long, right? The time it takes to develop a relationship into an actual contract takes a long time, right? So we got to be very conscious of that. So you got to be, if you enter the travel industry, you better be ready to go for the long haul.
Yeah. No, it's a great piece of advice, especially as someone who's gone through that. So, look, I'm going to delve back into, offer order.
Yep.
For those that are not familiar with the concept and the technology, why is the industry pivoting towards this?
So, the reservation systems of the airline, the PSS, they're at the heart of the airline's IT operation. Every downstream system, from crew and load and balance to departure control or check-in, to accounting and payments, all of it is dependent or hanging off of this PSS, right? The PSS is the system of record. Similarly, everything the airline builds on top of it, their website, their mobile apps, their kiosks at the airport, their distribution channels, are also tied to this PSS. Now, the PSS is built on concepts and data structures that date back to the 1970s and 1980s. PNRs, EMDs, e-tickets, and on and on and on. And it's become this kind of spaghetti of capabilities that barely hangs together today. Now, what that means, it doesn't make for a good foundation to innovate on top of. Like, for example, why don't airlines have shopping carts? Why is it that if I want to change my booking, I get a new record locator? Why is it that if I want to buy a connecting flight on an interline or codeshare partner, I have to separately pick my seat on that other airline's website and check in separately? All of those problems are tied to how the PSS functions.
Yeah.
Offer order is offer, order, settle, and deliver, which is the full kind of phrasing, if you will, was designed to provide a new foundation, built on modern standards, a modern way of storing data, a modern way of communicating data, and as a result, allow airlines to innovate again and build great experiences for travelers. That's what offer order is about.
Yeah.
An offer is really about how do I make a promise, how do I offer the things I want to sell, and then order is really about how do I actually end up fulfilling these things? How do I create a single place where all my other systems are able to pull the data they need to function, instead of pull that data from 50 different places, as is the case with the PSS. That's what offer order is about. Foundationally.
So in terms of FLYR in this space, like you say, World Aviation Festival is a place where things happen. Are there any exciting plans that you can share with us and that you might be able to go public with, that you might be able to share with us on the podcast?
So today we announced a partnership with Riyadh Air, right? So Riyadh Air is a very special new airline. Yeah. Not only are they backed by what I call the hopes and dreams of a nation that is now connecting to the rest of the world, right? 30 million people, average age of 29, 92% urban in Saudi Arabia. They're opening up their historic sites. They're opening up for domestic and foreign tourism. And they're basically doing it from scratch. Now what that means is that Riyadh Air had a choice. They had a choice to either bet safe and buy the same legacy system everybody has, or build it right from day one. Now Riyadh Air is going live on top of our systems in early 2025, so only 3-4 months away at this point. And it will become the ultimate example, the ultimate reference for what every other airline in the world aspires to become, right? How do I have a shopping cart for my customers? How do I offer my own and third-party inventory in a very integrated manner? How do I make it easy to book and change your flights and on and on and on? And that's why Riyadh Air is really important to us. Of course, they're scaling very quickly. They've ordered many aircraft, including many that they have not announced yet. And we're very excited to be part of that journey. In addition, we recently announced IBM as one of our partners. So we recognize that we are focused on building technology, but to then migrate airlines from these legacy systems to these new systems requires a lot of change management. So to handle that change, we partner with IBM and other companies that are yet to be announced to help transition effectively. And then next year, we're going to focus more on product partnerships, where we're creating an ecosystem around our technologies to allow other technology companies and travel startups to integrate natively with our platform and create an ecosystem, an open ecosystem for airlines.
It seems like quite a mature strategy, you know, in that sense, if I may say so myself, because I think like when you're coming into disrupt a market, normally it's like we're going to go and we're going to make it happen. But actually, I think there's a very mature understanding here, Alex, that actually we're going to need those partnerships to develop what is new for people and to make it work successfully in the future.
And to provide people the confidence, right? Airlines are multi-billion-dollar companies. And outside of buying $1 billion worth of airplanes, one of the biggest and most expensive decisions a board of directors or an executive team has to make is what are the core systems that my airline runs on, right? Like there's billions of dollars of revenue flowing through these systems or enabled by these systems. It's not an easy decision to switch or pick a vendor like us. Even though we're 750 people and backed by great investors, if you're a large airline, you still want to have names like IBM and others to be alongside of us to give you the confidence to make that change.
Absolutely. Okay. And you talk about investments. I think you've successfully acquired a $295 million fund from the UAE sovereign fund, the ADIA. How important is it to give that confidence to investors? I think stories like you're announcing today, the work with Riyadh Air and IBM, how important is that funding, that capital raise for you to progress the business, but also almost as I wouldn't say a badge of honor, but it's a recognition, accreditation of what you're doing? Yeah,
so the $295 million we raised recently, and bringing our total capital raise to about $500 million to date. And we raised it from BlackRock, Westcap, which is founded by ex-CFO of Airbnb, the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund, and a bunch of others. We are building mission-critical systems. And that means it's a very complex and long tail of functionalities we must support. And that means extensive investment in R&D to make that happen. So all this capital goes to R&D. Out of our 750 people, over 600 are product and engineering, right? So that's why we need the capital. In terms of validation, the company's made a lot of progress. We're growing our revenue really, really rapidly. We have crossed the chasm where most travel companies die. It's easy to get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, even $10 million of revenue, but getting to 50 or 100 is really, really hard. And having crossed that chasm, that's the real validation to investors. And that growth rate compared to, or combined with the size of the opportunity, right? Airlines spends $5 billion a year on the systems or the equivalent systems we provide. That's why investors place the bet on us. And we're the first company to provide a viable alternative to Amadeus and Sabre in 3 decades, right? So that's the bet investors are placing on us, and the progress and the momentum we've built is what gives them the confidence to write the check, so to say. Yeah.
Sounds super exciting, and we really wish you the very best with what's coming up. And already, I think we're seeing the birth of that as well. So that's really, really good to see. So I want to move into talk about Alex now, if you don't mind. So look, already, as we're saying, some great stories coming out. But looking already at your career so far, what are the proudest moments to date in your career?
I think today is one of them,
the
Riyadh Air announcement, because a company that is looking to really build the future, that had the option to bet safe, chose to not bet safe and instead take a risk with us. And it's working out really well, I should note. Naturally, even though we announced today, we've been working together for quite a long time.
I'm sure,
so that's definitely a proud moment, because we placed a really big bet as a company that we were able to build the systems that we provide today and make them successful and have airlines buy it, and that's kind of the validation, the real validation that I think is important. I think another proud moment or proud kind of journey is that we were 30 people in 2020. We have grown from 30 to 750 in the last 4 years.
It's amazing.
And looking back and seeing that growth and seeing all the difficult decisions and challenges and the kind of wide junctions of decisions you have to make, I think the 4-year journey from where we were then and where we are now, that itself is kind of a sense of pride for me as well. I think one other thing that I find really interesting is there's a lot of people that used to work at FLYR that are now starting their own companies. So there's a bit of a FLYR mafia forming, right? Like a FLYR.
You're creating your own ecosystem.
Creating our own ecosystem, yeah, that's right. And of course, I go to these people, I'm like, can I write your first investment check, please? Because I've worked with them before. So that's also a sense of pride, I would say, that is starting to develop. And especially for the travel ecosystem, like I like to be helpful to other travel startup entrepreneurs, to help them understand what they're getting into, to help them kind of get their mindset where they have to get it, to be patient in this ecosystem, and where appropriate to invest in them if I believe they have a good shot at making a difference.
That's amazing, because like you say, what we do find with guests like yourself, it is about that wholesome approach about giving back as well. And if in the end you can make a tidy return, why not as well? That makes absolute sense. Now, looking at all the amazing work you've done as an individual here, Alex, what's been the best piece of advice you've been given along the way? I'm sure there's been many, but something that stands out.
You need to be willing to pivot. So FLYR has pivoted over the years. We started the company as a consumer business, right? Forecasting the price of airline tickets and then evolving into providing lock your airfare type products, then recognizing that we didn't want to be in a commodity kind of consumer space, so pivoting to enterprise, then developing a revenue management system with JetBlue and Air New Zealand that's now being used by Virgin Atlantic and others as well. And then seeing an opportunity to craft a bigger vision, right? A vision that spans how do we make better decisions, how do we provide better experiences, and how do we actually replace the core systems at these airlines. It's a very big, bold vision. And we made those decisions, we made those pivots with confidence, believing that we could figure it out. And investors came along that journey with us, and we were very fortunate with that. So I would say the ability and the willingness to pivot and the conviction that you can actually make it through there, I think has been really important on that journey. And we're 10 years in. Like many people have said this. I think it was, the founder of Airbnb said the same thing, and many others, but first things go very slowly and then they start going really fast all of a sudden. Like it takes 10 years to build a real business, especially in slow industries like travel.
Okay, no, it's a very important point you make there, actually. And we just had Willie Walsh on as well, talking about that need to continually be able to change and adapt. So it ties in really well. Like you say, it is slow, but it is varied, and we love it, which is the aviation industry. Why should people choose to work in the aviation industry?
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons. I think one, it is actually quite enjoyable that it's a small, tightly knit industry. Like you can build great relationships and connectivity with people very quickly. I think the other part of it is, it's like there is no industry where you can potentially impact more human beings, right? Like $4.5-ish billion travelers a year, growing by 50% over the next 5-6 years globally, especially in regions like Asia, Latin America, Africa, Middle East. there is no industry where. Let me put it differently. When I sit in a flight, and I look around me, and there's hundreds of people on that flight, realizing that many of these people have been touched by our technology, that's a pretty cool thing.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I think between the close-knit nature of the industry, the opportunity for innovation and transformation that we have as a travel startup, as a travel technology community, and the fact that you're impacting billions of people's lives for something that is really fundamentally important, I would think travel, right, and new experiences, I think it's pretty cool stuff. And I think that should be a driver for people, or at least part of the driver why they're doing things. I personally, I get up in the morning to do difficult things and try and do them well. Yeah. And measuring my progress towards it is very satisfying for me. But those are some of the reasons why travel and the travel industry is fascinating and interesting to work in.
Yeah, no, we couldn't agree more. Just finally, before we come towards closing, you mentioned the importance of entering that tight-knit community and meeting people. Even today we've got an apprentice with us who's learning about the industry. What kind of advice would you be giving them about that networking? How do they go about it? Because sometimes it's that first step, just taking that first step.
Yeah, just don't be afraid. I think the industry is very approachable. Most people are. Right? Whether that is executives at airlines or technology companies, just ask people, what do you do, right? And maybe most importantly, how did you get here? How did you get to what you're doing today? And just open those conversations. I think the industry is very, very open to share their experience and their path to getting here and their learnings in difficult times like COVID and the like. Just start up a conversation. That's it. Like, I like to think I'm pretty approachable, and I'm quick to hand out my card and tell people, shoot me a note if I can help you, or if people are going to go out and fundraise, I'm happy to be the first one to give them feedback on their deck, right? So I think leverage the openness, leverage the close-knit community that is travel, and just engage. That's the most important thing.
No, it's really simply put, but actually so effective. Thank you so much. So look, we're coming to the last segment. We call it the quick fire round. So we'll just ask you some quick questions, looking for one word or short answers, and then we'll try and move for as many as we can in a minute, because I know you've got to head off as well.
There we go.
And I'm sure you've got to celebrate that deal that you've broken today as well with Riyadh Air that you announced. So Alex, favorite aircraft type?
A350.
Okay, why?
Nice wide cabin, good pressure, right? So lower altitude pressure, great lighting, good standard bathroom facilities compared to many other equipment types, wide galleys and wide paths. So yeah, definitely my favorite.
Perfect. Favorite airport?
Singapore.
It's always a popular one with our guests, and rightly so. Window or aisle?
Window.
Perfect. Are you a lounge lizard or a late gate dasher?
Definitely late gate on the first leg. Definitely lounge lizard on the connection.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Chicken or beef?
Chicken. I've had some bad experiences with beef.
Okay. One item you can't travel without?
Vitamins and a thing called liquid IV. It helps you stay hydrated when you're traveling, which is really, really important, especially with a crazy schedule.
Nice, okay, great. Strangest in-flight experience you've had?
Wow, I got to think now.
Yeah.
I guess it was an international flight. We were literally V-rotate, wheels up, and I had two people running down the aisle while the plane was taking off. I still didn't know what was happening, but that was interesting,
Great. Dream destination that you haven't been to?
That's a great question. As a country, Chile.
Okay, nice, yeah. Brilliant. Okay, things that inspire you about the travel industry?
I think I mentioned this a bit, like openness and connectivity.
Perfect. Yeah. Things that you hate about the travel industry?
Moves way slower than it should.
Yeah, I thought that would be the answer.
Yeah.
One aviation myth you'd like to debunk?
That prices are cheaper on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll let our viewers look into that a bit more detail. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. one historical aviation event you wish you could have been around to witness?
That's two, actually. First flight of the 747 or last flight of the Concorde?
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. Your favorite airline and why?
Wow. I have to say Riyadh Air.
Yeah.
But of the ones that are currently operational, that's a good one. You know, my Dutch roots, I guess KLM.
Yeah.
Like
tried, tested, reliable.
It's nothing fancy, but always good.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, it's a great way to end at home. So that's great. So Alex, you'll be pleased that's the end of the round there. So thank you. I think you did really well. Listen, it's been a great chat. The challenge we have at the festival is time.
Yep.
So I'd love to get you on again and really have a deeper conversation and really get into some of the stuff you're doing, and hopefully the progress and some of the stuff you're announcing. It sounds really exciting and something that's definitely needed in the industry. And thank you for yourself being so frank and open and honest about your thoughts as well. So we look forward to welcome you back, but thank you again. So
thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the podcast. We really like to thank Alex for coming along. Listen, I'm going to keep saying it. Please like, hit and subscribe, because that is how we're able to get great guests on. They can see the value, and hopefully you're seeing the value, and then we can continue to bring more guests. So stay tuned. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.